Prime Minister Modi, since we last spoke, the BJP has come back under Narendra Modi for the third term, but it's come back with a lesser majority.
I'll just offer some limited observations. People can reject it if they want. One, I think whatever you may say, for the opposition and the main party of the opposition to have doubled or almost doubled its, let's say, presence in the parliament is not a mean task, considering the quality of the top leadership. That's all I will say. In the sense, the quality of their top leadership. Okay? And two, I think there is only a point up until which you can underestimate people. If somebody, let's say, has chosen to enter this particular arena, has weathered, let's say, all sorts of comments and stayed there, I will respect the person at least for that staying power. And that applies equally to Mr. Modi, considering the kind of attacks that he has suffered, weathered and stayed in all these years. Okay. So maybe you should take that with, let's say, you should learn to do that. Because, see, politics is such a game, from whatever I understand, हर बार तो हवा आपके फेवर में तो बह नहीं सकता है. So you need to think about the alternatives, plan Bs. Because the one thing that the opposition has managed to demonstrate is that it can still cause chaos, notwithstanding the fact that it's not in the treasury benches. That is something that they have learned from the BJP. Because BJP has spent so long in the opposition in the parliament. And it was a militant, disciplined, cadre-based opposition. One of the finest oppositions in the history of oppositions of the world. There's no doubting it at all. After all, this is a party that has started from under the tree. बरगद के पेड़ के नीचे बैठ के मतलब ये आपके meetings होते थे. That's how this used to happen, right? So that discipline, I think, will hold this party in good stead if they continue to focus on that. Two,
none of the opposition parties are as cadre-based as the BJP. Yeah.
No way. There is a huge organizational support. There's a clear, let's say, identification of roles.
Which they did as an opposition party. They built a cadre, which is like harder to do.
Exactly. And with practically no resources, most of them are first generation or middle class politicians. They don't come from established legacy backgrounds, apart from, let's say, some founders of the Jansang. They've all come from the streets, the grassroots. So you need to go back to that in the long run, because right now you realize that it's the streets where the battles are being fought. When they realize that they can't, let's say, fight these battles in the parliament or in courts, they will get down to the streets. So you need to strengthen your position.
So 10 years in power makes that street fighting harder, which is what one saw in the 2024 elections, is that a number of their cadres, fattened is a wrong word, but it's a word which is used for being in power, which makes you lethargic.
So the thing is, it's human tendency to perhaps become slightly complacent and you take a few things for granted. Unfortunately, it so happens that somewhere the middle rung and may have communicated that one phase will constantly work, whereas that one phase was overworking. So there was no complacence from the top leadership in terms of putting the maximum possible effort. Second, maybe the messaging again could have been slightly different.
Yeah.
I say this as a lay observer from a distance,
right,
with no first-hand wisdom or knowledge.
Yeah.
3, in the parliament, when a young voice is speaking or a relatively young voice is speaking from the opposite side, I would want a similarly positioned voice from the treasury to respond, as opposed to getting the top person to respond all the time.
Yeah.
Strategically, it sends a different message. And 2, the fact that you're not short of young options must be visible to the public. After all, you must have, you must take the credit for infusing the maximum number of first generation young politicians.
So one day when I was in the parliament and I was watching, and you had TMC Abhishek Banerjee speaking, and I saw this side and I was like, why is Brijesh Chauta not speaking? Why is Tejasvi not speaking?
Or Mr. Thakur.
Or Anurag Thakur. Anurag Thakur does get more opportunity than the others. Why are they not responding? And this was in the first couple of months. I think everybody was waiting for a signal for them to speak up. That's all I can think of. But get up and speak. Challenge.
From what I understand, this party and its ecosystem has a tradition of encouraging youngsters and pushing them up the ladder. That needs to be done in the parliament right now, because, see, जो हो सकता था वो हो चुका है. And उनके सारी जद्दोजहद के बावजूद, this is the maximum that they could have done. That's it, at least for now. Now you should really test out your next best 11, so to speak, in cricketing terms, and give them an opportunity to take, let's say, to attack the other side.
Yeah.
And bring the issues back to governance, civilization 100% equally. But make sure that your representation on each of these subjects is researched. I'm sure they do.
But the youngsters do. I mean, because
100% on technology and whatnot.
Yeah, they use technology.
I've seen that, right?
Yeah, they've done that.
So I hope that we start seeing a slightly different kind of demographic representation within the parliament from the treasury benches, so that the youth base that you've managed to tap into for the last 10 years continues to be on your side.
Do subscribe to the ANI Clips channel to get shorter versions of this podcast. Click here to watch the full episode.